Hello, Hokies softball fans, and welcome into another virtual edition of the Hokies softball podcast. We are so glad that you can join us today. My name is Evan Hughes, proud voice of the Hokies softball podcast. We have a special guest on today's episode, the new assistant coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies, Coach Mike Lewis. Coach Lewis, thanks so much for taking some time. How are you doing? How's the last 3 weeks been for you?
Thanks, Evan. I'm really excited to be on with you today. Things are going good. Actually got into Blacksburg mid last week, and it's been a whirlwind since then. So getting moved in and getting my feet settled, and I'm excited for the players to get back on campus and get back to a little bit of normalcy here soon.
So take me through what the move has been like. I know Minneapolis to Blacksburg is not an easy drive. So what was that process like?
Kind of a disaster, to be honest. I actually set off last Tuesday with a U-Haul, and I was towing my car behind. So actually left the tow in Dayton, Ohio, and then drove through the mountains separately. So it's quite a bit flatter at home. So the up and down of the mountains here is a little foreign to me, but got the U-Haul here and unpacked and getting settled now. So.
What was it like first pulling into Blacksburg for the first time? Take me through that experience.
Yeah, just different. I was actually here a few weeks ago trying to find housing and that sort of thing, but it just looks different. And I know that sounds weird, but being from Minnesota and spending pretty much my whole life in the Midwest, it's a lot flatter there. A lot less cornfields here and bean fields and that sort of thing. And every time you seem to go up a hill, you're coming back down one as soon as you know it. So it's gorgeous here. I drove to Roanoke the other day and you're just up and down all the time. And for me, not having that experience before, it's awesome to see on a regular basis.
So we're trading places right now. I'm actually in Minnesota. You're in Blacksburg. And the one thing I've learned, Coach, about being in Minnesota the last 3 summers is that the winters are way more brutal up here than they are in Blacksburg. So I can promise you're in good shape there when it comes to the winter time.
I appreciate that. I went on good faith and didn't pack a winter parka because Pete assured me that it's going to be warmer here through November and December and January. So I took his word for that, and I'm looking forward to a little bit warmer of a winter.
We're so thankful to have Coach Mike Lewis joining us today on the Hokies Softball Podcast. Coach, again, a huge congratulations on the job. Tell me, what interests you in the Virginia Tech job, and kind of take me through that process of applying, the interview process, and then finding out that you got the job.
Yeah, so Virginia Tech, obviously being in a Power 5 conference is big. And then being at Minnesota last year, we got a little bit of a taste of them early in the season. And Virginia Tech knocked us off at the Clearwater Invitational. So, those two things were really exciting, but just the opportunity to work with Pete. Everywhere he's been, he's won. And he wins the right way. And he seems to kind of have a following that not many people do, that winning with the right people is super important to him. So our paths had started a long time ago, 6 or 7 years ago now, but staying in touch throughout the years and that sort of thing, and keeping up on his successes and whatnot. When I kind of got the opportunity, it was extremely difficult not to say yes, right away.
When did you first meet Coach DeMore?
I met Pete in 2013. It was 2013, the fall of that year, and then the spring of 2014 I spent with University of Missouri. Obviously, he did a great job there as assistant and associate head coach for a long time, and then that next year I ended up at UMKC, and we stayed in touch, and then obviously followed his move from Missouri to Kennesaw, and then Kennesaw here to Blacksburg.
So, Coach, I want to go all the way back. How did Mike Lewis first get involved with the sport of softball? When did your love first start for the game?
Yeah, so I think for a lot of men's coaches or players, it started on the field, but it didn't necessarily start with me playing. That my father played at a really high level for a long time. So when a lot of kids my age were in the sandbox or whatever at the field, I was generally in the dugout. So I love being a part of the team and getting to learn and listen and that sort of thing. And then I got to start playing when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, and obviously played baseball through school and that sort of thing, but really grew to love softball more than baseball, and continued to play through my teenage years, and then got involved in coaching and have loved it since.
Let's talk about your playing career for a second. In 2012, member of the junior national team, you guys finished 5th at the World Championships. What was it like to represent Team USA and get that experience?
Yeah, that was incredible. There's a really cool YouTube video that it's fun to go back and watch occasionally. And, there are a bunch of us that were 17, 18, 19 years old that we were 5,000 miles from home and playing in front of crowds that were 10, 11, 12,000 people that, I'm from small town in Minnesota, 400 people. That's a lot of people mashed into a softball park. That it's just an incredible experience to be a part of something that's bigger than you, obviously, and then the opportunity to represent your country with the best players in the country was a really incredible experience.
I'm sure that's got to be so unique, not only to represent your country, but you're seeing some of the best softball in the entire world in one park for 1 week.
Yeah, and that was really cool. That tournament, there were literally all 4 corners of the globe were there. That India was there, and New Zealand and Australia were very strong. Canada was very strong. Then the Latin and the Hispanic countries as well. That just kind of a really cool melting pot. That we're 5,000 miles from home and playing a game that we love and can play at a little park at home too. So just kind of cool to put things into perspective from that standpoint.
So you obviously a great playing career. Did you always know that you wanted to go into coaching?
Not really. I kind of got conned into it. Not conned into it. That's probably a bad word. But Coach Gillis actually helped get my start at Missouri. And then it's kind of funny how things came full circle. And I've really enjoyed just being a part of the game. It's something that's been a part of my life for a long time. But then getting to call it work, essentially, of surrounding myself with great people around the game has been a great thing since I've gotten into coaching.
Let's talk about your experience at Missouri and Kansas. You're there for a couple of years. What did you take away from being a coach at Missouri, Kansas?
Yeah, so my time in Kansas City, we probably didn't win as many games as we would have liked to, but for myself personally, it was awesome. Kind of a growth by getting thrown into the fire a little bit. That I was really fortunate for the head coach and the assistant coach there that they allowed me to have a lot of freedom on the recruiting trails and start culminating a lot of good relationships in the Midwest and that sort of thing. And then a lot of flexibility with what we were training and how we were thinking about the game. So my time there, it was kind of hectic because we were busy all the time, just as everyone else is. But it was a great learning experience for me, getting thrown into the fire a little bit and having that freedom and flexibility to kind of try things that maybe were a good idea and maybe not always a good idea, after you look at things and that sort of thing. But getting that opportunity to grow individually was a great experience.
And then you go to the Gophers. I've learned it's a big Ski-U-Ma, go Gophers, row the boat, as PJ Fleck likes to say. You're from Minnesota. What was that process like getting to U of M, as they refer to it up here in Minnesota?
Yeah, that was awesome too. It was really cool too. You grow up a Gopher fan is the only Division I program in the state, and getting that opportunity. Obviously, they'd been knocking on the door of super regionals and the World Series for quite a few years. Long tradition of being really competitive and strong in the Big Ten. So for me to get that jump to go to a big program like that was awesome. And then it was actually cool because I got to take a step back a little bit. I took a position as a graduate manager that I actually wasn't allowed to coach, where my experience in Kansas City, it was go, 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 go. But here I got to sit back and learn a little bit more, which I'm super, super grateful for. Getting to learn behind, Jamie Traxel and Piper Ritter and Katie Rekovich and having that experience of saying, okay, wow, this is how we're going to get people from A to B, was fantastic to me, on top of, getting to come home.
What was it like getting to learn under Coach Traxel? Obviously, she's someone who's so well respected in the sport, and then doing what she did at Minnesota. What was it like to learn under her?
It was awesome. It was a really different perspective for me because a lot of her experience had been in a gym during her time at North Dakota State. That, being in the Midwest for a long time, or in Missouri for a total of 4 years or whatever, we're outside a ton. That the weather was just good enough that we didn't have to be locked inside a ton. That Jamie's attention to detail, especially on the defensive side, but just on the overall aspect of the game, was really eye-opening to me as someone who got to be a fly on the wall a lot, and getting to learn, like I said, from Jamie and then Piper and Katie as well was really important for me to continue growing as a coach.
You mentioned that the Gophers, when you arrived, kind of knocking on the door in the Big Ten. What was it like to not only be a part of a Big Ten program in the Power Five, but to be a part of a program that was on the rise nationally and then eventually got to the Women's College World Series?
Yeah, that was super exciting and something I really look forward to, that as me being able to provide value or coming into a position trying to provide value, it gives you something to shoot for, that, hey, maybe I can help out in this way or this way, and we can keep moving forward. That 2019 season was pretty special, getting to host a regional and host a super regional, and then get to the World Series was quite incredible.
I actually live with somebody in Minnesota who is from St. Cloud. He's lived in Minnesota his whole life. He's not a huge softball fan, but
okay.
The Gophers hosted the Super Regionals last year in 2019 against LSU. He really wanted to go and watch the Supers, but it was sold out. It was a packed crowd. What was that like, especially for someone like yourself from Minnesota, to see a sellout crowd like it was in Super Regionals in May?
It was hard to kind of wrap your head around. I think your buddy was not the only one trying to get a ticket but couldn't. Tickets were selling, and I think you can get in generally for 10 or 15 bucks or something like that. It was cool to see a super regional game on StubHub, and they were selling for close to 125 or 130 bucks. It was awesome to see the support that the city and the university had for kind of a team that was approaching a first. And having people supporting you like that was really, really cool.
And then the Women's College World Series. I mean, every year the numbers continue to grow on TV, and it feels like it continues to get bigger. What was that like to be a coach, experiencing going to the top level of the Women's College World Series?
It was a little surreal, to be honest. You watch it on TV for however many years, and you don't really understand the grasp of it. TV doesn't really do it justice of when you get there, and there's 12,000 people there from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. That if you're in general admission, it's hard to get a seat if you're not there plenty early. So just getting that experience and as a first for Minnesota, as a first for myself, cool to get your feet wet a little bit, but keeps you hungry for more too.
So let's move to 2020, of course, at the St. Pete Clearwater Elite Invitational. You guys play Minnesota, Virginia Tech. Great game. What was it like to coach in that game? And now that you're with the Hokies, what do you remember about that game a couple of months removed?
Yeah, so it was actually interesting. Pete and I, obviously, we talked after the game, and then we were sending some texts back and forth that evening, I think. And it really impressed me how athletic they were. Virginia Tech, that 1 through 9, there weren't weaknesses. Maybe 1 through 9, it wasn't, a top flight option at every position, but they're really good athletes. They were coached well, and they took advantage of opportunities that were presented them. So we knew going in, obviously we hadn't played Virginia Tech that year. It was early in the year, but we knew it was going to be a tough game, just because Virginia Tech has been so well coached. And obviously it's never good to take one on the chin, but I'm not sure the Hokies were ranked at that point, but at some point they were going to be. That we left the game bummed we had lost, but knowing that it wasn't going to be long before Virginia Tech was ranked in the polls anyways.
Coach, do you see any similarities between the Gopher program that you joined a couple of years ago that was on the rise to the current Virginia Tech program right now?
Yeah, I think so. Both are programs that maybe haven't been in the limelight of consistent World Series participants or that sort of thing. That both have to kind of be crafty with recruiting and that sort of thing. That maybe the first program that comes to your tongue thinking about college softball probably isn't Virginia Tech or Minnesota. But both were on the rise, and obviously with Virginia Tech hoping to continue moving that program forward the best we can.
When you look at this Virginia Tech roster, there's a lot of players that come back from last year's squad. It's a big junior class. What excites you about the 2021 team that returns to Blacksburg?
Yeah, just that. I mean, it's kind of a unique situation that there was so much returning that it makes it interesting for Pete and I and Doug to sit around about recruiting. That it's a team that's experienced and extremely talented, but it's a team that's still really young. That these players are still getting better and getting their feet underneath them to some extent, but are going to be Hokies for a long time. That I think it's really exciting to keep building on the success of last year and the year before, but continuing to move that mindset forward of looking to host a regional and continue moving forward from that standpoint.
Coach, one thing I wanted to ask you about that was mentioned in the press release when it was announced that you were being hired was Coach DeMore talking about your ability to throw batting practice to the players. Just how long, of course, going back to your playing days, how much has that helped you? And my question is, you were Coach Gillis. Who's going to throw the better BP now?
Well, I'm assuming Coach Gillis is hoping that he's moving out of some of that batting practice throwing, which I'm just fine with. So, which it's great from Coach Gillis's standpoint. At one point, he was one of the best pitchers that the United States had to offer. That having someone like that around who can come in and throw it to both sides of the plate or up or down or changing speeds will be great. I've had a lot of experience with that, throughout my stops, and I'm excited to continue helping our hitters get prepared for the best in the country. Obviously, the pregame stuff is important, but we're really looking to challenge our players on a regular basis. That I'll probably throw quite often, and I'm not. I want to be humble about that. I'm nowhere near the pitcher that Coach Gillis was or anything like that, but can get it done well enough that we'll make sure our hitters are challenged on a regular basis.
So, when the hitters are challenged like that, and they're seeing an arm like yourself or Coach Gillis, I think about baseball, for instance, and how there's batting practice every day. And I didn't even realize that when they're facing a righty, they try and get a coach who's a right-hander to throw BP, or a lefty. Just how important, how valuable is that to have someone like yourself who can throw a challenging BP to a team before a game?
Yeah, I think it's really important, and there's different times as to when we're going to make sure that the hitters are feeling good about things, and then there's going to be a lot of times that I'm going to try and get them out. That there's going to be days and spurts of time that they're going to struggle probably, but that's our point. That if we can make sure that some of those struggles and some of those experiences are happening in the fall, that once we get to the spring, we can let them run and let them go at it the best they can. So being able to, throw, if we're going to see a rise ball pitcher all weekend or whatever, being able to kind of load them up with rise balls or the same with drops or changes or in and out and that sort of thing. I think it's going to be really important, in preparing our hitters and making sure they have everything they need to succeed when the lights come on.
All right, last one before fun questions for you. What are you most excited about right now at this point in August?
I think just the getting back with the team. It's been a long time for everyone. Myself, when kind of the world was slowed and softball came to a halt, I was in Hawaii in early March. That normally we go, hopefully early June to early September of not seeing the team and being in a team setting. That it's almost been doubled this year. That I think I'm missing that, and I know the rest of our staff is missing that, and really excited to get back with the team. And obviously the excitement of trying to keep moving Virginia Tech forward in a way that Pete has already concreted the foundation and seeing what we can do this year.
All right, so typically towards the end of the Hokie Softball Podcast, we do, as Coach DeMore has tabbed it, story time with Uncle Pete. We are going to tab this story time with Coach Lewis, okay? So, first fun question for you, Coach. Just how thrilled are you to get to work with Coach Gillis and Coach DeMore all together as a staff?
Yeah, so we've been together, 3 or 4 times probably from my time when I was here 3 weeks ago, and then since I've gotten to Blacksburg full time. But it's generally full of laughs, and we're really going to enjoy being around each other, I think, which is really important. And then extending that, I got to meet Coach Stover just the other day, and Whitney's been fantastic in helping me get situated with a place to live, and then just getting to know everyone else too. That my experience so far of kind of the dynamic or the culture of the team has been really fun and easygoing and that sort of thing, that it's not uncommon for someone to kind of take a jab at somebody in the group message or all in fun, that sort of thing. But I'm really excited just to be around those guys on a regular basis, and for me personally, get to learn. I mean, it's someone who, for Coach Gillis, has consistently made pitchers better, and that's really hard to do on a year in and year out basis of making pitchers better and then making really good pitchers into some of the best in the country. And then from Pete's standpoint, he's won everywhere he's been. That I'm excited to be a part of what they've had in place, and then hopefully add value in ways that we can keep moving forward.
And speaking about Coach Stover, he's had a great playing career himself, as all the coaches have. I think it's so unique that all of you guys have played the game before. And so I would love to see batting practice amongst the 4 of you.
Yeah, and it is unique, but I think it offers kind of a neat perspective too. That playing from the men's side, it's probably a lot more international than the women's side. Just from the club ranks, that is, that the women's game, the clubs are a lot more U.S. based probably, or the players are a lot of U.S. based players, where you play a men's schedule or the club circuit, that there's players from all around the world, that it doesn't make it better or worse one way or the other, but I think you just get a ton of different perspectives as to how different people play the game, and we're looking forward to putting all that together here in Blacksburg.
So being from Minnesota, obviously a long ways from Blacksburg, before Coach DeMore came to Virginia Tech, what did Coach Mike Lewis know about Virginia Tech?
To be honest, I 2 things. I knew it was in the mountains, and this is going to sound cliche probably, but Mike Vick, that it's probably a lot of people's response to that. But I grew up kind of in that time frame that Mike Vick had played here at Virginia Tech, and then I played all those Madden games that he was the best player on the game, and got that experience too. So it sounds a little corny probably, but not a ton. about Blacksburg and Virginia Tech other than those two things.
The 96 speed rating for Mike Vick on that note before, right?
It's not a lie. It's not a lie.
Have you seen any YouTube videos since you've been hired of Enter Sandman and the entrance at the Lane Stadium? And are you excited to be part of that?
I can't wait. Someone from the team the other day had tweeted that out. I wasn't sure if it was the ACC network or who had, but you watch that and it's hard not to get chills and get excited about, my first experience with Enter Sandman. And it was really cool kind of throughout this process, getting to talk with obviously Pete and then, people like Chris Helms that he said a lot of people are struggling with student attendance at football games and keeping people at the games. And both of them said, we have opposite problems, that we generally don't have enough space for our students. And I'm really excited to have that opportunity to be around a place and a program and a department that has that kind of support on a day in and day out basis.
When you first toured campus, what stood out about it?
It's gorgeous. I mean, I love the Hokies stone. I know that's a huge tradition here, but there's trees everywhere, and the mountains are in the background, and there's a lot of green space, which is kind of adds to the aura of campus as well. But from an athletic standpoint, I love how everything is kind of centralized. That whether we're in the office or at the softball field, we're kind of right across the street from everything, which makes things really nice too.
All right, a couple more fun ones for you, Coach Lewis. How about the first time you got to go to the indoor practice facility? What were your initial thoughts?
My initial thought was, I'm not sure there's a better one in the country. That I've been fortunate to get to, tour quite a few of them, but you walk in and it's bigger than it maybe looks from the outside, and the ability to do so many different things there. And I know Pete is trying to make it a priority to keep adding, little things here and there to keep enhancing what the indoor has to offer. But with the players lounge kind of in the corner there, and then Coach Gillis having his mad scientist lab down in the back corner, and then the huge open space for infield and being able to hit out live is incredible.
Now, I understand there's a ping pong table in the facility. A lot of players like to claim that they're the best. Some will admit that Kelsey Bennett is apparently the best. How are your ping pong skills, Coach?
Probably going to take a little bit of work, but if there's a competitive edge it's within the team, I'll probably find some way to practice here before the team practices get ramped up again.
I know golf is very important to Coach DeMore. We talk a lot about his golf game and how he actually hit a hole-in-one the last time that we talked here on the Hokies Softball Podcast. He was saying that Coach Gillis had just gotten some new clubs, and he said to be determined on how his game is. How is your golf game? How will you stack up against the rest of the coaching staff?
Stacking up against the rest of them, probably not well. To keep my spirits going, I like to say I'm still learning. So, like everyone, we probably got to golf this spring and summer more than we ever had. As much as I've played this spring and summer, I'd like to think my game would be a little bit better, but it probably hasn't peaked from my standpoint.
All right, a couple of rapid fire ones here at you, Coach. What's your favorite TV show?
TV show. I love, oh gosh. This is going to sound bad, but like Netflix documentaries about mystery or crime or different things like that probably are my favorite.
All right, what about the best book you've ever read?
The best book. I am reading the Mitch Rapp series that kind of goes on that crime and mystery series as well, by Vince Flynn. So that series is my best or my favorite book.
All right, how about favorite food? What do you like to eat? If you could have anything in the world to eat, what would you cook? What would you make?
I love ham dinner. which sounds, it may be not one thing, but ham and all the fixings, mashed potatoes, stuffing, the whole gamut, I'm all for.
All right, last question for you, Coach. What does it mean to you to be a Hokie?
I'm just extremely gracious of the opportunity. Obviously, Virginia Tech is a really big and concrete institution throughout the country, but especially in the ACC. And then getting the opportunity to come to Blacksburg and be a part of a small town that is all for Virginia Tech. I couldn't be more excited. And then getting into the softball part, just the opportunity to learn for myself, from Pete, from Doug, and everybody else, and then hopefully being a great advocate for Virginia Tech softball and in the athletic department, and for our student athletes too. That it's going to be my goal to make sure I can help them, obviously in the softball sense, but also professionally, personally, however I can help. That's what I'm here to do.
Coach, glad you're going to make the transition from the almost maroon-looking color of U of M to the Chicago maroon here at Virginia Tech. Congratulations, Coach, and thanks so much for your time. This was a ton of fun.
Thanks, Evan. I appreciate it.
That's the new assistant coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies. He's Mike Lewis. My name is Evan Hughes, proud voice of the Hokie Softball Podcast, saying so long. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Hokie Softball Podcast.